Hey everyone, it is late at night and I am Norman. I recently bought a Seiko Silver Wave watch and I did my first impressions of it. This watch is really cool. So far, I am loving this watch. I mean, just look at that. I was after a dark dial version of my Citizen watch that looks almost identical to this and found this watch. And it pretty much is what I was after. Tonight we're going to be doing a full review of it, so let us begin. And here is the Seiko Silver Wave. I believe in my first impressions video of this watch, I described it as a black dial watch. It is not. This is actually a charcoal dial. So it's a really dark gray, which is fine. When I bought this watch, I was really just after a dark dial version of my Citizen watch. And sadly with dark dials, I haven't really found any that don't have dates, but I'm actually kind of cool with day dates. And as you can see, I still have it set to the kanji days. I believe that's kanji there. Just because they're fun, and I don't really need to know what day of the week it is because with my crazy schedule, I already know that. The bracelet on here looks very close to what the Citizen's looks like. I'll be doing a comparison video in the future. I've been kind of spoiled by the Citizen's bracelet because the clasp on that watch operates like it's a mesh bracelet, so you can move the clasp along the strap and then just lock it in. This one has some issues. So if you saw my first impressions video, you'll know that this clasp was really far up on my wrist and it kind of sticks out a little bit. So I tried removing some of the links, but these are the fold over bracelet links, so you have to get a tool inside these little dots and try and work the little tab that's in there out this way. There's usually arrows printed on there to tell you which way to go, and on this watch it's definitely out here because you can see the pins in there. On the other side it's perfectly smooth. So I tried removing links and really made zero progress. I decided to take this in to my local mall watch guy and see if he could rearrange some of these links so that this clasp is centered on the bottom of my wrist. So for $15 he did that. However, it now has a different problem. So when I do my wrist shots of this, I'll show you what I'm talking about. But this bracelet looks amazing. It fits the aesthetic perfectly. It's nice and thin and flat and smooth. And so far it hasn't been pulling out any arm hair, so that's a good thing. Looking at the case back, we have some tool marks there where someone tried removing this case back without using a plastic bag or a sheet of plastic to protect it. If you're going to try and open these using a case back wrench, you want to put something between the wrench and the watch to protect it from just this kind of damage. But we have some fun waves etched into that case back, and it's definitely showing its age. But other than those tool marks, it's in pretty good shape. This watch actually has standard lugs that are just kind of hidden underneath the case. So the overall impression is that it's integrated, which also is perfect for this aesthetic. That looks so great. It's a fairly thin watch, so it hugs your wrist really well. We have some little crown guards here, and this is actually a screwed down crown. So let me unscrew this, and we'll pop it out. And you can see that this movement hacks. There isn't a ton of resistance, but it doesn't feel cheap or anything like that. It actually feels like a really nice movement is in there. I'll have to track down what these typically were sold with, and we can watch the date flip over. It's starting to go now. And just before midnight, it snaps over. That's pretty cool. And then for the day of the week, that starts going here before 2 o'clock. And then we have the English. And then it flips back over to the other. All right, pop this back in and we'll set the date. So there's the day. And the date wheel clicks over pretty well. Nice. Pop that in and screw it back in. It's a very small crown, so it can be a little bit tricky catching those threads, but for the most part, screwing it in and unscrewing it isn't too bad at all. Looking at the dial, it has a subtle sunburst to it. Seiko quartz is called out just below the 12 o'clock. And then we have Seiko Silver Wave at the bottom there. There's a cool bezel around the edge of this, very PRX-ish, I feel, which was the allure of both the Citizen watch and this one. They're kind of like faux PRXs. As for the specifications on this watch, the case size is 34 millimeters. However, it looks larger than my Citizen, which is the same exact size. As I mentioned in my first impressions video, it actually is a bit taller lug to lug, but case width wise, the same. Crazy. The height is 8.5 millimeters. The lug to lug, or at least edge of the case to edge of the case, is 40 millimeters. The lug width was kind of tough to measure, but I believe it's 18 millimeters. The crystal is mineral. And the movement inside this is some kind of quartz movement, hopefully a Seiko one. Alright, so let me take off my Seiko Dolce, which I am still totally loving. Such a brilliant watch. And we'll see what the Silver Wave is like when you're wearing it. Here is the Silver Wave on my 7-inch wrist. And as you can see, that clasp looks much better. It's way down here, centered on my wrist. So when I look down, that isn't all I see. However, you can see where it folds over is so long that it's now shoving this out here. If I was able to remove links, I might move it back just a touch and see if that helps, but I'm not going to pay another $15 just to be nitpicky like that. But that is such a cool looking watch. I love that aesthetic. And now when I'm in the mood, I can wear a dark dial one, or wear the Citizen when I want to wear a light dial variant. Those indices really catch the light. You can't see them so much in video, but during the day and in bright light, they really refract light and just look brilliant. Amazing. So there you have it, my brilliant Seiko Silver Wave watch. I'm gonna have to open up the back of this and see if it indeed has a Seiko movement in it. I'm hoping it's totally legit, but it's in great shape and it looks absolutely amazing on the wrist. Thanks for watching.